first I'll talk about Tombstone. So Tombstone is definitely one of my all-time favorite westerns. It's probably my favorite, my second favorite modern western. My favorite being The Unforgiven, which I'm actually going to talk about soon when I get to the U's. But Tombstone, great movie. It's basically the Wyatt Earp story, and about the same time Tombstone came out, the Kevin Costner movie called Wyatt Earp came out, but that was very much more solemn and kind of introspective, and not so much an action picture as kind of a drama. And it was really long, I think, too, when Kevin Costner was just becoming this really self-indulgent guy for a while. You know, after the success of Dances with Wolves, you know, he made The Postman and Wyatt Earp and some of these other disastrous films. Anyway, Tombstone is very vibrant and alive and exciting and has all the great elements of any good Western, gunfights and great female characters, and of course, you know, tough, rugged men. But at the center of the film, really, as much as I love, you know, the main character of Wyatt Earp in the film, really the guy who steals the film, and my brain is melting, is Doc Holliday, played amazingly well by Val Kilmer. And you know, he's just got this great sort of fey way of speaking and acting, and you know, he's got some great memorable lines. You know, at one point the villain asked Wyatt Earp to have a duel, have a showdown, and he's kind of leaning against a tree, Val Kilmer, and he goes, "I'll be a Huckleberry." And he, you know, because he's the fastest gun in the West, and everybody sort of knows it. And Michael Biehn, who has been great in a lot of Cameron films, like, you know, he was Kyle Reese in The Terminator, and he was in The Abyss. He is kind of this mean cowboy named the Ringo Kid, and him and Doc Holliday have a gun battle in the movie that's great. And of course, you know, the big scene in the film is the shootout at the OK Corral, which is, you know, based on historical fact. And, you know, the movie leads up to that, but it's not all about that event. There's lots of other stuff that goes on in the movie as well. And I think it's pretty long, well, 134 minutes, so it's 2 hours and 14 minutes, so a little long, but I definitely feel like it's worth it. It gets into a lot of interesting things about living in that time in the 1800s in America, more so than just being, you know, like a movie like Young Guns, which is just pure action fantasy type of movie. So I highly recommend Tombstone. Why is the actor who played Wyatt Earp escaping me? God damn. Okay, well, here's his face, and I'm gonna write it in an annotation because my brain is completely dead. Yeah, it's gonna come to me in like 2 minutes while I'm discussing another movie. Okay, so the other two T's I want to talk about are Trainspotting. This is a 2-disc edition from Miramax. Well-deserved 2-disc edition. So, of course, Trainspotting was directed by Danny Boyle, who became very famous recently, having won the Academy Award for Best Director for Slumdog Millionaire. Slumdog Millionaire has not opened here in Japan yet, so I haven't seen it, but I am eager to. I'm a big fan of his. Of course, he did a great little movie, was his debut. It was called Shallow Grave, and it starred Ewan McGregor, as does Trainspotting, and Christopher Eccleston. If any of you are Heroes fans, he played the Invisible Man in Heroes, and a female actress, and they're flatmates, roommates in Scotland, and they have another room to let out, and the guy that comes and stays there dies. And when they figure this out and they go and look through his room, they find this huge suitcase full of money. So the moral dilemma is, what do? Do you, you know, chop up or bury the body or whatever and try to keep the money, or do you tell the police and, you know, say the money is there, etc.? So it takes on this very kind of Hitchcockian, Edgar Allan Poe, Telltale Heart kind of vibe to it, and it's just very sharp and quick and well acted, and just a tight little thriller. Came out in about 1993. His next movie was Trainspotting, which is based on a very famous novel by Irvine Welsh, and it came out in about 1996. And again, Ewan McGregor, an up-and-coming star, who of course now is very famous for having played Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars prequels. One of my favorite actors of all time. It's got Robert Carlyle in it, who went on to be very famous for The Full Monty and many other things. And anyway, it's a film set in Scotland about heroin addicts. And it took a little bit of guff at the time it came out for, you know, people that thought it kind of glamorized drug taking. But I have to think that those people didn't see the movie, because the movie is very frantic and very lively, and you root for the characters even though they're doing terrible things at times. But it's also horrific and harrowing and completely shows you the reality of being a drug addict. There's terrible things that happen in the film because of the drug addiction. If you're a fan of HBO's Rome, the guy who played Lucius Vorenus is in the movie, and he kind of gets AIDS and dies because of his drug habit. You know, Ewan McGregor goes through terrible withdrawals at one point, trying to get off heroin, etc. And the things that happen into their lives, these characters, I don't know how you could say that it was glamorous, but the movie is amazingly well made and well shot. I mean, from the opening credits where it's like Iggy Pop's "Lust for Life," this very awesome, you know, drum sample, and they're running through the streets, and you know, they'll be like jumping over a car, and it'll freeze frame, and Ewan McGregor's voiceover is going the whole time, you know, with this great thing that was on a lot of the posters, you know, choose life, choose a job, you know, choose a washing machine and big fucking television. You know, why would I choose any of that? Choose a future. I don't want to do that either. What's the reason? I don't have a reason. But I don't need a reason when you've got heroin. And, you know, it's this whole thing, and sorry for my bad Scottish accent. Yeah, it's really, really, really a well-made film and one of my all-time favorites. So if you haven't seen Trainspotting, see Trainspotting. Okay, I should have just about enough time to talk about True Romance. And again, this is a 2-disc special edition. This movie came out kind of sandwiched between Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. And those movies, of course, are both well known, both written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. True Romance was written by Quentin Tarantino, and he sold the script to a studio, and it was actually not directed by him, but it's very Tarantino-esque in most respects. Other than in some of the ways it's directed, it's very slick the way it's directed, and that's because it's directed by a man named Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's younger brother. And Tony's done a bunch of very slick, well-made Hollywood-type pictures. Of course, he's very famous for having directed Top Gun in the late 80s with Tom Cruise. True Romance came out in about 1993, I think, and it's just, again, just full, everything you like about Tarantino is in this movie. Awesome dialogue, great characters, just outrageous situations. It's basically about Christian Slater's character Clarence meets this girl, Alabama, played by Patricia Arquette, and they go out on the road together to escape a drug kingpin, played amazingly well by Gary Oldman in like Rastafarian wig and everything. You just have to see it to believe it. Clarence's dad is played by Dennis Hopper, and there's a mobster after them played by Christopher Walken, and they have an amazing scene together. You just have to see it to believe it. The dialogue is just awesome, and the stories they're telling, you know, as good or better than the scene in Pulp Fiction where Christopher Walken talks about the watch. For those of you who have seen that. Again, James Gandolfini is in it. He plays like a hired hitman. It's violent, and it's got, you know, tons of bad language in it, but it's really, really, really good. It's really funny at times. Brad Pitt, you know, kind of still when he was not that huge yet. I think he'd done Thelma and Louise, plays Floyd, Clarence's just totally zonked out, stoned roommate. And like he makes his bong out of a honey bear, and oh my god, you just have to see it. So yeah, there's lots of really famous people in it. Sam Jackson's in it. Val Kilmer's in it and plays like Elvis, like the ghost of Elvis. So if that doesn't have you interested, it's really, really good. True romance. Definitely worth checking out. Trainspotting and Tombstone. Okay. I think that's going to be about it for this one. So that'll be it for a little while, and then hopefully I'll finish out the alphabet in the next series. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for rating. I appreciate all the comments. We'll see you next time. Bye.